Hey, welcome to our video series, where we're talking to tech marketing leaders in a range of industries to learn their top challenges and how they achieve ROI in today's Marcom landscape. For those of you who stumbled on our site for the first time, hey there. We're an award-winning public relations and integrated communications agency representing global tech enterprises and innovative startups. The way we partner with clients now is certainly not the way agencies did it 5 years ago. Why? While traditional media outlets continue to morph into digital news engines and social media platforms change their algorithms and features every single day. And to top it off, sales, demand gen, customer success, and PR now must all work together in concert to show true ROI to the C-suite. As you can see, the landscape is getting, well, a little complicated.
Hi there. Joining me today is a man with many titles, Mr. Derek Harp. Derek is the co-founder and executive board chairman for Next Defense, and he's also the programming founder of the Industrial Control Systems Group at the SANS Institute. And most recently, he founded the Control Systems Cybersecurity International Association. Did I miss any of your titles there, Derek?
Those are the
primary ones. So we've been working with Next Defense for a while, and one of the things that we really love about it is the level of expertise that you've brought to your specific area of cybersecurity. So Next Defense is a true leader in the industrial control system space, and I know my team and I have found it fascinating to learn all the nuances that go into how a control system works and how really critical infrastructure operates. So thank you for taking the time today to talk with us about your experience. You've been an entrepreneur for 20 years You've grown some companies from early stage startup through acquisition. A large part of that is in the cybersecurity space. In someone in your position, what are some of the fundamental marketing tactics that you look for, and what have you been successful in using, and how do you quantify that success?
Sure. That's an interesting question because we've done over 19 years of doing startups. We've done lots of different things. Some inexpensive, ineffective, and some expensive and ineffective. And I think I'm a fan for startups. I think every experience makes me more and more focused on how do we spend, this is a relative term, a reasonable amount of money and get as much effect as we can get. Going to a major trade show and plopping down $150,000 to be at one show for a few days or a week or whatever, and having a $100,000 banner in an elevator a mile away from the trade floor is a mistake. Do some things that are tactical and that you can get a sense of how well they're working, and easily exceed what you're spending, which is typically for me, for ventures, investor money early on. How can we get a better return on that is the question, because you got to get, to an ever increasing number of milestones with the least amount of money possible. So I like PR of all the kinds of ways to reach out and build the company's credibility and reach customers. I've always been a big fan of PR, and so I've tried different configurations with different companies, and I think I've really, I've enjoyed what I've done with ARPR.
Yeah. So cybersecurity, huge topic right now, and there's a lot of, let's just say, clutter in the industry, and there are some companies who start and they're really trying to market to fear and uncertainty and doubt, what we call FUD in the industry, and it's become a challenge for companies, especially earlier stage companies, to stand out in such a noisy industry. How do you think that integrated communications has helped you and the company kind of break through some of that? And specifically, how helpful has it been to have a marketing partner who understands the industry and the nuances of it so that they can help really kind of fight some of the challenges you're facing?
I'm not a big fan of FUD. You and I have talked about that. I think it's a trap that many first-time security company teams fall into. The sky is falling, whatever their focus area is, the sky is falling. You essentially need to buy a product like ours because otherwise you're doom and gloom. And I think business leaders, especially at major corporations, they're getting immune to that. It is a significant concern area, and they do understand risk mitigation and language around risk and managing risk. And that's how you have to speak to sophisticated customers. They're not going to spend, you shouldn't spend, for instance, a Fort Knox amount of money to protect one iPhone. But you might spend a Fort Knox amount of money to protect something of equal or greater value, you know, that sort of thing. So it's relative to what are you trying to protect, understanding your cost, that sort of thing. So we like, and at the onset of this company, our mission was let's assemble a team, probably a small team of real experts, and let's be thought leaders, and that term gets thrown around, and we can help people, not just by buying our product, we can help them by educating them, by giving them information they don't have for decision support, for making qualified decisions, prioritized decision around cybersecurity. And I think we've set out to do that, and I think we've been achieving that. The partnership with ARPR helped accelerate that, because if you have a small group of experts and you have a one-to-one connection with some people, you can help them and you can get your message to them, but how do you get one-to-many, this expertise, this core group of, of knowledge holders that you have? So I think what worked extremely well, what has worked so well with you guys, is we've been able to get out the message globally, not just in the US, but to lots of people. People have read our articles, they've read our reports. We have a significant customer. I did not cultivate the customer directly, someone, other team members did, but when I finally met him, he talked about things that he'd read that I'd written, and that they were important to him, and they'd been valuable, and that he printed them out. That's huge, right then. So I was part of the sales process with that customer, even though I wasn't directly involved. That's scale. And that's something you guys helped us achieve.
And that's an awesome segue into my next question, which is really about what we're passionate about, which is our integrated communications approach. And as someone who has had experience with PR and marketing from the agency side and in-house over the years, curious to hear your thoughts about how our mix of capabilities from media relations and social content, lead gen, all of those types of things bundled together has helped accelerate your awareness goals and your lead gen goals.
One aspect that comes to mind in that question is your choice to have expertise in our vertical. I think it would be remiss to not talk about this initially. Having worked with different firms, that's a differentiator for us, in that when we talk in any kind of planning meeting or strategy meeting, all the way down to execution, there's a fundamental understanding, certainly of cybersecurity, and then, honestly, you dove into, our subsector of cybersecurity. So whatever strategy we're gonna design and implement was informed with our partner. And so I think all the strategies were informed by that, whether it was doing something on a social media platform or writing an article for a specific magazine or end user audience. It was all coming from, let's understand, and frankly on your dime to some degree, let's understand their vertical to a significant end, and then all those conversations were better. And that manifests itself in very practical ways. You've been able to work with us in a way that other firms I've worked with in the past haven't been able to do. Proof in pudding is being able to write content that's, I don't want to say 80% there, but X% there, only needing our expertise to get it to this certain additional point. That's a huge, again, efficiency, scaling. Time and money are the two precious commodities for a startup. You don't have enough of either, and you guys have been huge partners in getting us over, almost to the line on a variety of things, and that's due to the due diligence you did, the learning that you did in the space. That's not often the case.
And as someone in your position as an executive board chairman and someone who has served in C-suite roles, how important is that type of, I would say, tangible and intangible benefits, something that people in a board position are looking for? And how do they view, what do your colleagues and what do your peers look for when they're looking to measure the results of a marketing initiative or a PR campaign today?
You probably get different answers from different people. A board member who's a founder, an entrepreneur, and a board member who's an investor, you might get different answers to that very same question. But fundamentally, if the entrepreneur is experienced enough or wise enough and has good advice, they're asking themselves the same question the investor's asking, which is, what are we obtaining for this, again, precious resource, time and money that we're spending? And in the case of spending it on PR, I think board level, C-level are gonna feel good about a certain expenditure level when the evidence is there. Now, the ultimate evidence is sales. It's sometimes hard to say this article, got us that sale. But again, when you're in the sales cycle, or you've already captured a customer only to find out that they read something, they bring it up and say, I read that article or report, and it was, here's how it was important to me in my ecosystem with my boss or with management or whatever it was, or just for my own personal development. By the time, that by the time somebody went to them and talked about sales, that's a huge advantage that already occurred. That was already, a recognition of our brand at least, if not a recognition of some of the principles and people that were, that are involved in the enterprise before the sales attempt, the attempt to build a bridge towards a commerce exchange between you and that customer. So that's direct evidence for me. So if you back up a level and say prior to that, what can you look for? You look for how many placements did you get, and how many potential audiences, saw all those different things. And I don't think for a startup it's about brand building. I think that's a big company game. I mean, there's some sense of you can get name recognition, by getting it out there a lot more. But the thought leader part is that people have read real content, not marketing fluff. Again, that's what you guys worked with us on, is real content versus just getting some sort of piece somewhere because 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 people were going to see it. I think a lot of our content, if not all of it, was valuable to somebody, valuable to people that were potentially going to be exposed to it, and they could grow their knowledge and or learn vocabulary to talk to their management, or management, hopefully we're reading it and understanding greater this problem area within their own company, within their own space. So, ultimately, I think we've done a lot of that, and it's been hugely beneficial to the company. We haven't done any really traditional marketing, certainly not advertising. This is what we've decided to do to get our knowledge extended out to as many people as possible. And that's, we want to have more sales, but I also want to actually help secure critical infrastructure, in our country. This serves both cases. It helps people, they get knowledge they need, and if, and by the way, our product fits what they want to do now or in the future, however, when they're exposed to us. We've had people call us, that's another sign that something's working. When you get an inbound, well, how did you find out about us? Well, I read about you in this particular magazine or this particular online, source. You right there, you record that and say, that's a good sign.
Yeah. Speaking of critical infrastructure, for last question for you, threats against critical infrastructure are not going anywhere. They're going up. Yeah, they're certainly not going down. They're certainly not going down. And so, how is a company like Next Defense really suited to help mitigate this problem in the coming years? And as the company continues to grow, what role do you think integrated communications will have in helping scale with the company over the next few years?
Well, I think a company like Next Defense is ideally suited for it. At risk of pride of founding and ownership or whatever, I think our collective wisdom at the beginning was, let's really assemble potentially a smaller team, potentially a little bit more expensive individuals, but who really know what they're doing. I've done the other end, which is getting a larger team. It sounds good. You have a lot more people working on different things, but maybe they're more affordable, but they're less experienced. So this time we said, let's get the best people we can around us, primary team, and then also advisors and mentors around it. And I think we've been able to, and are connected to some of the top minds that are trying to tackle this problem. So I think when we look at being able to help a customer achieve success in mitigating any of this risk, that helps that. We know what we're doing. We know what we're talking about. If that's true and nobody knows it, it's of only a certain amount of value. And so I think, again, this is about having some sort of methodology, which we developed with you, with ARPR, to get that knowledge that's true. I mean, I think we know what we're doing. We know the space. We've been outside this company. We've been in key pivotal positions involved with this, this problem space. We've got to get that knowledge transferred to other people and their awareness that we can help them. And so the strategy that we developed with ARPR was how we've done it. It's almost exclusively how we've done that. That and we get speaking engagement requests fairly regularly amongst the principals, and we try to do as much of that as we possibly can. It's the same thing, getting the word out, helping people, educating. Lots of education is needed in the space of security for control systems. Traditional cybersecurity is much more mature, and this space is less so.
Derek, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
As you can see from that discussion, the integrated approach is really how we view the world. To break it down even further, let's look at our integrated approach diagram. You can really see that we begin with solid messaging and content. This content has to be compelling and digestible so that it will attract your buyers. This is really important because it takes 7 to 13 touch points to convert a B2B buyer into a qualified sales lead. So the narrative you create through social media content, case studies, and white papers will help you push your leads through the buyer's journey. Now, how do we distribute all this content? Well, it's through digital channels. And since 75% of journalists say that they can't do their job without Twitter, this content is not just reaching your potential buyers, but journalists too. And that's a win-win. Once we distribute this content, we're able to leverage it for thought leadership campaigns, which helps us land speaking engagements and awards for your brand. And to put a bow on it all, with our lead generation and marketing automation capabilities, we have the ability to optimize this compelling content. We ensure we're capturing important prospect information like email addresses. Not to mention, through marketing automation software, we're able to follow a prospect through his or her buyer's journey. From the first time they find your website until it's time to close the sale, and even beyond, we continue to nurture that relationship. Not every client contracts us to execute our entire 360 approach for them. But what's really important to take away is that this is how we see the world. We bring this perspective to every tweet, blog, email, or pitch we write. We truly understand the exact Marcom formula it takes to help you make news and drive leads.